All right, everybody, welcome in and welcome back. Season 5, episode 3, aka our 145th show. Andy, there were 6 World Cup games a day going on, and I just physically couldn't keep up.
No, I couldn't. And especially I had a team that I was not who I was dreading with what their final position was going to be. And so the past week was a lot. A lot. So we're not I don't know if we're going to submit our listeners to it. I think we're just going to go through like a rundown and like a real quick
Yep.
highlight. But yeah, it's a lot. I don't know where I don't know where the flow is. I think I've past podcast, I asked you where you think the flow is for your World Cup. Where are you with the World Cup flow?
Now that the group stage is over, I'm better. I'm back
Okay.
all in, 2 feet all the way in the deep end.
Yeah.
But when we were to the end of that group stage, I was just like, I physically cannot watch all these games. And I don't really want to. I was kind of soccered out by the end of the group
Mm-hmm.
stage.
Mm-hmm.
So there are definitely some good games that I missed, and I, apologize to the listeners for that, but I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Just kind of doing a bird's eye view kind of highlight of all the groups and where they finished, and just kind of seeing where we're at as far as the group stage finishing and knockout stage starting as of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been a really good start to the knockout stages so far, which we'll get to here in a few
Yeah,
minutes.
we've had some upsets. We've had some big games. Not necessarily just all upsets, but like solid performances to start off with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got a lot to get through. As I keep saying, lots of more than 140 games or so to go through, and I think we're finally over the halfway mark, which is
Yep.
jeez,
Thank
crazy.
goodness.
We've already gone 70. That's nuts.
No, I think there's
Um,
103 games, and we're on match. Let me look at the bracket. Match 74 was today.
wow,
73, 74, and 75 were today. So we are over halfway.
cool, good. In a way, good. But
Yeah.
let's
It's
go. Let's
a
go
lot.
in. Yeah, it's just a lot, and yeah, I think I'm wondering about the quality because it's almost like if it's too much of a glut of soccer, it's kind of like I don't know. Does it lose the luster a little bit of these teams that you're rooting for, and you're just
Yeah.
watching soccer just to watch soccer and just see these little matchups here and there and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's getting to like
It's,
personal preference.
yeah, I think it really it watered down the group stage a little bit and made some of the games not as meaningful. I mean, there were definitely meaningful games,
Mm,
but it made some of the games not as meaningful. But the knockout stage has been fantastic so far, which we'll get to.
yeah, for sure. So checking in any news Barcelona, I can tell you there's not much news I need to share with United other than what's kind of happened at the World Cup and how that affects United's kind of moves going forward.
Yeah. No, I think the biggest one is Julian Alvarez after the second Argentina group stage game going off about, I think I mentioned this last week about wanting to
Mm-hmm.
be a part of Barcelona, and then Scaloni and his coaching staff weren't happy that he was talking about club ball when they're in the midst of a World Cup run, and it was, definitely a
Mm-hmm.
little distracting from Argentina as a whole. Didn't affect their performances, but um that's the biggest thing.
Yeah,
No news other than that, other than the saga that is Barcelona v Atletico Madrid.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, that'll continue even after the World Cup, I imagine
Yep.
too.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so I'll get into United a little bit when we kind of touch on this team that's in the group stage. But we'll go through the alphabet soup that was the group stages. Group A ended up being kind of significant because it looked pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It was going to be Mexico and South Korea were going to be the ones topping their group.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden, I think it was South Korea lost to South Africa,
Yep.
and that changed not just
Everything.
like Group A. It changed everything. It
Yep.
changed so much for the third place
Yep.
spots, which as a the bandwagon kind of Scotland fan. Not bandwagon, I would say I'm a little bit more from McTominay's time, but that changed the complexion of everything. So yeah, I guess what are your takeaways from all that?
Sad. I'm a very much a bandwagon South Korea fan. Just
Mm,
from how they play, and I've mentioned it before over the last couple of weeks, but I was sad to see them not go through because I think they would have given several teams a run for their money, depending on where they would have ended up. But they just
mm,
faltered. They faltered at a crucial time against Mexico to not get that draw because if they get that draw, they're through.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and faltering at the end of the game against South Africa, giving up a goal with that loss. They were one of those 3-point teams that just unfortunately didn't make it out.
yeah, yeah. And there's I think theirs in Scotland is probably like the hardest heartbreak because these are I wouldn't say South Korea is a powerhouse, but like I feel like I know a lot of South Korean players, especially in the U.S., that are very good, and like it is a big soccer culture in South Korea, and same with Scotland. We'll get to them there, but I feel bad for my South Korean friends because yeah, they're on paper looked a lot better and maybe should have performed better than what they ended up doing, which is just it's sad to see. You want to see sure you want to see upsets, but sometimes you do want to see certain teams just get through because you want to see you up against them or having them go up against some bigger names, and
Yep.
that's just not going to happen for this group there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And
that
who knows if this will be Son's last World Cup? We don't know.
yeah
Definitely leaning that way, and it's just sad because he's just such a nice human and a
yeah
great ambassador for the sport.
hmm
One of the better players to have played the game for sure.
hmm yeah
So just
and it,
sad to see him crash out in another group stage.
yeah, and I think too, just like in world sport, especially for soccer, kind of giving South Korea a lot of credit, because I think there's like Europe and South America kind of writing off like North American teams, Asian teams. I think
African
South Korea kind
teams.
of felt African teams, especially. Yeah,
Yep.
South Korea was one that was kind of breaking the ice there to be like, we're even in Asia, quote unquote, we're in Asia, but we're still a solid team that you have to respect.
Yep.
And Son was able to bring that out a little bit of having that superstar there. So
Yep.
just unfortunate, but it's you gotta be the best. You gotta be a better team than the sum of your parts there. And I think
Yep.
South Korea just wasn't able to do that.
Yep.
So team that was able to do that and kind of put it together was Canada. I thought in Group B, where we had Canada, I think Switzerland also advanced, and then Bosnia Herzegovina took that third place spot for Group B. Um, what surprise? Anything surprised you about Group B?
I other than Bosnia Herzegovina kind of sneaking out of there, not really. I mean, I thought
Mm,
Canada would have performed better, especially being at home against all these teams. But I think my biggest takeaway from this group is how the knockout stages work because Canada didn't win their group, and I think FIFA was expecting them to.
mm,
Canada has to
mm,
go to the US to play their first knockout stage game instead of it taking place in Canada, which I thought
yeah,
was baloney.
yeah. I think that's really bizarre. Like to almost not guarantee Canada to get to even if it's first or second to get through. That's that's really hard. I think on Canada,
Yeah.
but we'll get into it more of what happens. But yeah, it didn't seem to affect them all that much. It does set up a USA Bosnia Herzegovina clash,
Yep.
which I think is going to be I think and kind of hope it's going to be trickier than the US might be making it out.
Yep.
But that's when we get to more of the group stages. Big thing, Group C. This probably isn't the world storyline, but this is the storyline to me. Scotland crash out of the group. Going into the Brazil game, their final game, they had a 70% chance of making it into the top eight, which I have found that Scotland has not gone through the group stage, gone out of the group stage in I don't know, even before I want to say the 1970s, it's been a long time for
Yeah.
Scotland. Not even for
Yep.
Scotland to get in the World Cup. It's been a long time for them to get out of the group stage. So 70% chance they implode um, in their final game. Their percentages, if you're looking at the percentages, that drops to makes them 40%, so not horrible out. But then Group A's matches came in, further knocking it down, and then all hell kind of breaking loose from there. But all that to say, Brazil and Morocco advance. I think definitely the best two teams in that group will advance for that. So I don't think there's
Yeah.
any complaints there. But
No,
yeah,
and
just
it
really sad about Scotland. Just really sad.
agreed. Agreed. And Scotland definitely had a tough group. I mean, their best two matches against Haiti and Morocco were very good. They, you just go back to giving up that it wasn't a cheapie because it was a great shot from the Moroccan player, but that goal scored super early, second, third
Mm-hmm.
minute,
Yeah.
defining how that game ended up. And you just think if Scotland can pull one back or somehow they save that and it ends up in a 0-0 draw, Scotland's through. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like even too, like they had a game plan against Brazil and it seemed to be working, and it was a mistake from the defender, not I think recognizing Vinicius Jr. and how quick he is in the press
Hmm.
and kind of being, I think it was more not necessarily being lackadaisical, but I think honestly just like not anticipating how fast he is to close that
Hmm.
distance down. And it was an early goal too. That was like in the 8th minute, I think between 8th and 11th minute. So your plans as a Scotland team, your plan goes to crap there
Yeah.
because you're probably thinking like hunker it in and then try to maybe stretch out the game a little bit as it
Hmm.
goes on. But yeah, they just didn't. At the end of the day, they didn't deserve it based on their performances. They couldn't score goals. Um, they were very one dimensional in just getting the ball to McTominay. And
Hmm.
McTominay didn't have the best IP or best World Cup. I would be curious to see if he doesn't get a stomach bug and Billy Gilmore doesn't get injured, what kind of team Scotland plays. If they play a little bit more pluckier, but
Hmm.
end of the day, it was a really tough group to be put into,
Yeah.
which I think you put in here in the notes. But
Yep.
yeah, that's just sad given that their fans were the darlings of the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. So tough one there for Scotland. Going on to Group D, Andy, we both had the USA not finishing top two, and we were both incorrect. But it
Mm-hmm.
was fun watching the United States lose to Turkey in fantastic fashion. It was great. Turkey played
Yeah.
so hard. They were just trying to scrap something. I think they would have needed to beat the United States by, I think, like 4, 5, 6 goals, something like that, to have a chance on points and
Mm-hmm.
then goal differential.
Yeah.
Um, but only beating the United States by 1 goal was just not enough. And
Mm-hmm.
I, I think that was the Turkey team that everybody was expecting going into the World Cup,
Yeah.
and it was just too little, too late.
Yeah. Yeah. Just kind of surprising. I think just surprising. And I listened to the After the Whistle podcast, and they were saying that I think their overall sentiment is like, this doesn't really matter too much for the USA, but it is a little bit. The concern is if something happens in the USA where they have to go to their bench,
Yeah.
they don't have game changers. And so I think that's gonna hurt in teams with a little bit more about them
Hmm.
than I think Australia and Paraguay. But Turkey was able to bring it to them and kind of put in the performance we thought the USA was going to kind of have, at least in the
Yeah.
groups. So
Yeah,
hey,
I'm gonna give an honorary mention, Superdud, to the Telemundo broadcast, because I don't know if you've been watching games on Telemundo, but
I have, yeah.
they have an issue where every once in a while the broadcast will freeze, and so you don't
Hmm.
get audio, you don't get video, and you're just kind of in limbo for like 5 to 10 seconds. Like usually not a big deal,
Yeah.
but that freeze happened right as Turkey was like crossing that ball into the box.
Oh
And
no.
so I was just like, Elizabeth and I were just like
What?
what happens? And
Mm-hmm.
then it comes back, and then Turkey is like running away celebrating. We're like, wow, they must have scored.
Yeah, it's like, well, guess what? We know what happened there. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's brutal. That's
Yeah.
brutal.
It was just
Um,
bad timing.
yeah, interesting thing that I learned from the After the Whistle podcast, which I now have to kind of be, I have to be cognizant of, is that the feed that they're getting, that Fox is getting, isn't their own feed or Telemundo. It isn't their own feed.
Right.
It's
It's
like the world.
Fox's feed.
It's not Fox's feed. It's the World Broadcast's feed.
Oh,
That
interesting.
Fox, yeah. So Fox has the broadcasting rights, but they don't own the feed. So
Okay.
they buy the feed from whoever's doing it. So then if the world feed does like pans to someone or does something, Fox has to react to it.
Yeah.
They're not the actual ones doing it. So I thought that
It's
was interesting.
my favorite is they're panning to like, famous people in American culture
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, right? And so they pan, and if the Telemundo broadcasters don't know who it is, they just ignore it.
I love that.
And
Good
it's
for
so
them.
funny. It's so
Good for them.
funny. And then if I don't know the person, I'm like, well, I don't know who they are either. So yeah, I don't care. Doesn't really
Yeah.
matter to me.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm curious. I'm curious who then they were going to, because they made a little bit of comment to that in After the Whistle. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting learning from that game, especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, running off Group D, both Paraguay and Australia advanced with 4 points apiece, so they got to go through as second and third place teams. Which I think Australia, I want to say, finished second.
Yep.
I think because of the goal
Yep.
difference. So
Yep.
that'll do it. Group E, I think this was I don't know if this was interesting per se, but Germany and Ivory Coast, they went through. I actually want to say that no, it would have been Germany topping the group,
Yeah.
with
They were
Ivory
tied on
Coast coming
points, though.
second.
It was just goal differential. That was the difference.
Yeah, yeah. So that was intriguing. Plus Ecuador, which some people had as like a sleeper agent, kind of going through. They were able to advance through their victory over Germany,
Yeah.
which was a come from behind victory, surprisingly enough. So
It shouldn't have had to have been, though. So that crew was an all-female crew from the United States who I think overall had a very good group stage.
mhm.
In the lead up to Germany's goal, there was a high boot where the Ecuadorian player is going for a header, and the German player kicks up with his boot to get the ball. He does get the ball, but he also kicks the Ecuador player in the face. Like, and it is
Yeah.
clear as day. Like, everybody saw it live, but then when you watch the replays, it's clear as day. And I understand if the ref doesn't want to call that in real time because maybe they don't have a great angle or whatever might have happened. But VAR's job is the clear and obvious. And I don't know how any clearer you can get than kicking a player in the face.
Yeah.
Like, it should have been called back. It really should have.
Yeah. I kind of want to see the rules because I forget what it is. Like, if you get there, no, because it's just a high boot, even if you get there or not.
Yep.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, it's a
that's
dangerous play
weird.
either way. It should have been a yellow card too,
Yeah.
because it's a dangerous play.
Yeah. It's been the refereeing. I don't want to say has necessarily been bad because it has.
Agreed.
I don't know how egregious. It hasn't been that egregious. We can argue on that if it's
No,
been
I agree.
egregious. But
No, I agree. What
some of the things
it seems
yeah.
like the referees on the field are letting more stuff go. And then VAR kind of has the stance of they're not intervening as much and letting more stuff that is called on the field stand, which I think for 90 to 95% of what I've seen has been correct and has been the way to call the game. Because I think it's in a lot of the European and domestic kind of competitions, it's been very like tiki-taka, very cheap kind of fouls being called. Whereas now it feels like a little bit more pure soccer, which I really appreciate, and I think a lot of the fans are appreciating. But if something is super clear and obvious, like kicking somebody in the face, VAR, you gotta intervene, especially when it directly leads to a goal. Like, you gotta intervene.
Yeah, it's almost like that. It's kind of too much now under the microscope of being like they're weighing how obvious is this, like
Yep.
kind of thing. So it seems like they've been kind of told to be like, when in doubt, don't try to chime in, only if it's like you have complete doubt it or complete confidence. And like if you're
Yep.
probably a world, sometimes the smarter you get, the more doubt that you have because
Mm-hmm.
you are more cognizant of what you don't know happening. So I don't know if there's something that kind of into effect there, but in
Yeah.
any case, Ecuador advances.
Yep.
Group F, Netherlands, Sweden, Japan all advance. So Sweden is able to hang on kind of still. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about Sweden being just kind of hanging around in there.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
That's
kind of
definitely what it
don't.
feels like.
I kind of don't like it. If I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, I don't like teams that are just hanging around in there and not really doing much of anything. It's more of a frustrating thing. If you're playing in it and you're on that team, sure, that's awesome. But
Mm-hmm.
as like a
Yeah.
in thinking of being a sports fan, I don't know if I just like a team that, you know, kind of gets to hang in the back,
Yeah.
and gets
Just
to
kind of
join on the
scrapes
ride.
by.
Right, right.
Yep.
Like I don't think that like I don't know. I feel like if you get demolished by any team by 4 goals, I don't know if you should necessarily advance. But
Yeah.
that's just my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Netherlands topped the group,
Yeah.
followed by Japan.
Japan. Yep.
So and then with Sweden coming in third.
Yep.
Um, Paul, do you want to touch on Group G at all? I know I didn't really. This is a group I had like no skin in. I did
Yeah.
not care how this went.
Yeah. I mean, I think Egypt punched a little bit above their weight, and Belgium kind of faltered as they typically do in every single World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was probably one of the more, from a surface level, a little bit more boring of a group, especially with the number of draws that happened. But I think Iran was mistreated in this World Cup, and I'll get to
Oh,
why
for sure.
when we get to the end. But I think Belgium feels a little bit lucky to have finished second in the group, because I don't think they were the second best team in the group. I think Egypt was the best team. I think Iran was the second best team.
Mm.
But sometimes that's not how the cookie crumbles. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. And I think Belgium is a little lucky to be where they are, personally.
Yeah, I can see that. I think too, just even just given that group, you know, if Sweden or Scotland get also thrown in that group, I think they have a little bit easier of a time trying to get through or get higher up, I would say. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that's how groups go. You get tough
Yep.
groups, you get groups of death, you get, easier groups to kind of go through, and Belgium's, going to benefit from that, having a stutter start to that,
Mm-hmm.
for
Yep.
that group. Heading into Group H, I think fun news is Cabo. Cabo
Yep.
advances, and yeah, I think Spain obviously first. But yeah, what's your kind of feeling with this group and how it turned out? I think it's accurate.
I think based on how the teams played, yeah. I think Cabo
Mm-hmm.
Verde just did enough, and they did, getting
Mm-hmm.
3 draws and 3 points to finish second in that group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's not that they didn't go for it, because they definitely scored goals and they put themselves out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
very deserving of the second place finish, I think.
Yeah.
Spain worries me again.
Hmm.
With a caveat, though. Andy, I was watching this game between Spain and Uruguay, and Uruguay at one point was playing a back six. It was a 6-3-1 at one
Hmm.
point.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
have seen a lot of low blocks, but I've never seen a back six before, ever, in my years of watching football.
Oh wow. You haven't
Yeah.
watched a lot of Premier League.
No, I haven't.
I say that because we at one point would go into a back six at
Yeah.
United when we were under the cosh if we were like getting pressured by City or someone. But
Yeah.
anyway,
So it was hard for Spain, and Spain did get a goal, ended up winning 1-0. the Uruguayan keeper, it was a really, really bad goal that they let in. And I feel bad for him. But it was tough to get a true judge because of just how defensive Uruguay was playing. Also, in the second half, probably halfway through that second half, Uruguay just got desperate and they were hacking like crazy. There were so many bad calls. There's one guy in the Uruguayan team, which I don't remember his name, but I will find it for you. Who he got a straight red for a 2-footed tackle on Cubarsí. Canobio. Agustin Canobio is his name.
Yeah.
And he was a menace all game. He should have been off of that field probably by halftime for how many horrible tackles he put in. But it was just very chippy. Uruguay was doing anything they could to stay in the game and try to get a point and a draw to try to salvage a second place finish in the group. But it was just dirty play. And that guy, he got his straight red towards the end of the game, but he didn't leave the field, which he should have.
Yeah. Well, that should be a penalty too. Like if you don't leave the field.
Right. And he's probably going to get one because after the game, he comes marching back on the field and is trying to like ream out the head ref again, which he did all game. He also like pushed the ref and like threw his arm away on a couple of occasions, which should have also been a straight red.
I think I saw this video. Yeah.
But the assistant referees basically made a wall between him and the head ref. And they're like, no, you have to leave. Like, you cannot be here. He's probably going to face some sort of suspension, I would imagine. FIFA's going to look at this. But it was just kind of a very chippy game. Uruguay just doing what they can to try to salvage points. And just, it looked horrible.
Yeah.
It looked horrible. And fun fact, the Uruguayan Football Federation decided to cancel their chartered flight back home, and now the players have to take commercial flights home, which I think is in poor taste, personally.
Yeah. As in, like, from Uruguay doing that to their team? Or
Yes. Like, no matter what happens on the field, like, you should be able to get your players home.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I think it's weird because as a federation, like you have to know that that's potential to happen, and just still to do that. So it does kind of seem like it seems very petty, and like I don't know. Obviously, like that it shouldn't happen of like Uruguay not advancing into the group stage, but you see it does happen. Like you still have to play your matches, and Cabo did what they had to do.
Yep.
We can talk again about the format and being like, the format, like, I don't know if a team I don't know if a nation as small as Cabo Verde or Curacao really should be in the tournament, but they showed that they deserved it. They played the tournament. Yeah.
And they played the tournament that was presented to them.
Yeah.
We can't fault them for that. We can fault FIFA for that if we want to, but they made it in and they played the 3 games and they did enough to finish second in a group.
For sure. Yeah. I completely agree with that. Where, how they got there, that's probably up for debate,